Hi there. Here's a short explanation of the difference between national debt and external debt. National debt focuses on government debt. It's the accumulated level of debt owed by the government of a particular country. And the national debt will go up when a government runs a fiscal or budget deficit and finances this by selling government bonds. National debt is often measured as a percentage of a country's GDP, and the real value of that debt can go up if an economy experiences a period of price deflation. Falling prices increase the value of debt in real terms. Here's a chart showing different countries' debt levels. This is general government gross debt as a share of GDP. So the UK in 2015 had a gross level of debt of just over 90%. Whereas Mexico, it was just over 50%, in South Korea less than 40%, and Chile has one of the lowest levels of government debt of OECD countries, level of national debt of around 16-17% of GDP. The country with the biggest government debt in the world is Japan, 230% of GDP, followed by Greece with a national debt of over 170% of GDP. Now, how does this differ from external debt? External debt is debt owed by a government or by businesses or by people of a country to an overseas lender. It could be a foreign bank, it could be the International Monetary Fund, it could be foreign companies, it could be any foreign creditor. So some of the national debt is owed to overseas investors and counts as external debt. But external debt can be owed by anybody, private or public sector, to a creditor in a foreign country. It's estimated that developing countries overall have more than $5 trillion in external debt. And external debt can be a big barrier or constraint on development, particularly when the interest on the loans takes up a big percentage of the money that they generate in exports or the money that the government collects in tax. Here are two ways of looking at external debt, both published by the World Bank, and all of this data is for 2014. So this first chart shows the total stock of debt, external debt owed by countries, this time expressed as a percentage of the value of the exports of goods and services and primary income from income such as remittances. So you can see, for example, that Brazil has one of the highest levels of external debt measured in this way. Indeed, in 2014, their external debt was twice the annual value of the inflow of money from exports. Here's a second way of measuring the scale of external debt, and that's to express it as a percentage of a country's annual gross national income, or GNI. I've focused in this chart on African nations, and you can see that external debt does vary quite a bit as a share of GDP. Some countries have an external debt of less than 30% of their GNI. But Zimbabwe is a good example of a country with high external debt. In 2014, their external debt was 84% of the country's gross national income. So that's the difference between national debt and external debt.